Well, leasing farmland, it is critical to many farming operations. And that's why producers often look for guidance on structuring agreements to balance the risk and the return between the landlord and the tenant. Well, the man to help us do this, Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law, with a lot of advice. Roger, thank you so much, as always, for being here. So talk about what producers need to keep in mind when it comes to leasing farmland.
Well, good to be with you, Suzanne. And this really is a big topic because we see data that shows us that more and more farmland is being leased. And even so, as that occurs, we have more absentee landlords that aren't even present on the premises. So that brings into issue a number of concerns. And of course, if I'm a tenant, the first thing I want to know about is where are the actual boundaries on this property that I'm farming? And that we may kind of overlook that one, but in agriculture, we often go by usage of property rather than what surveys say. Now, there was an Iowa Supreme Court opinion last Friday that really, it's wrong, frankly. And it really raises a lot of questions concerning this, and we're hoping to get a bill through the Iowa legislature that will vacate that opinion. But this is one thing that really needs to be it's overlooked, and we really do need to look at that. And then I'd say do an audit of the property that you're interested in leasing and make sure there aren't any environmental issues about that. And also the parties should know how good the financial footing is of both the landlord and the tenant, but the tenant in particular. If I'm going to lease to you as my tenant, I want to make sure that you're going to be able to make the rent payments. What if you file bankruptcy? I can have a landlord's lien in that bankruptcy process, but I want to know how good off you are. So I want to do a financial audit, and that goes both ways. But then while farmers and ranchers are good at managing risk, one of the things that they need to take into account would be the tax structure of the payments under the lease in terms of how that lease is structured and the tax reporting, particularly on the self-employment tax side of things.
Well, let's talk about that. How does that work? I mean, looking at income tax issues associated with leasing farmland, what do producers need to know? Because what you just said there is a lot of homework up front before they even step foot on that land.
Yeah, there is. And I would reiterate, Suzanne, that these leases should be in writing. And I know that runs counter to what is the actual practice, but we try to convince farmers and ranchers that you need to get your leases in writing. That can, while it won't prevent problems down the road, it can certainly help minimize misunderstandings. But on the tax side of things, I think self-employment tax is the big one. You can structure it as a cash lease, and as a landlord, that's going to be Schedule E income, and I won't have self-employment tax on the rental income that I receive. If it's a crop share or livestock share lease, well, there's a distinction there. If it's a non-material participation share lease, then I report that on Form 4835, and there's no SE tax. If it is a material participation share lease, that's Schedule F farm income, so that is subject to self-employment tax. And this is a primary concern to the landlord, but also to the tenant. But as the landlord, depending on where I'm at in life, maybe I don't need to be paying Social Security tax, or maybe I still need to pay self-employment tax. When am I going to retire? Am I age 62? Am I short on being vested? Well, maybe I need to boost the self-employment tax a little bit. And so that bears on the structure of the lease.
Roger, there is so much information on this. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, but just great stuff. And of course, we're going to continue to talk about this, hopefully catching up with you down the road as well, because it's such an important topic. And again, we hear from so many beginning farmers, they just cannot afford to purchase farmland. So leasing is their only option. Roger, thank you so much. Finding out more information, is this on your website?
It is, yes, and RFD-TV has picked it up also. It's on the blog there.
Great stuff, Roger. Thank you so much, as always. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law.